vacant lightweight championship right here between Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira. Who's the side right here? It's uncertainty. All you're hearing is narratives. All you're hearing is stories. On one hand, Topuria walks in and knocks out Oliveira like it's nothing. On the other hand, Oliveira is too big. Look at the size discrepancy. His jiu-jitsu is too sick. Who's the side right here that you are favoring? Who's the A? Who's the B truly in this matchup?
Truly in this matchup, Derek, I have to go with Ilia Topuria, especially because of the momentum he's carrying into these fights. Like you said, right? Charles Oliveira has the X factors on paper, and nonetheless, the #1 submission in the UFC. Like, this guy has all the accolades going for him. But sometimes when you're riding that high, you're the guy, man. You just keep on rolling, and that's what a lot of what Ilia Topuria has been doing. He's put a lot of fear into people, but I agree with you. He's fighting a bigger, stronger, faster guy now, and an actual weight class where he belongs. This should be a very, very interesting one.
What do you like about Topuria in this matchup?
Oh, man, fast all around, insane power, likes heavy hands, great pressure. What I like most about Topuria is the way he's able to evolve his game for each and every single opponent, right? If he's fighting a crazy striker, he's going to look to mix it up and then shoot to the ground, get this fight where he needs to be. I don't imagine that happening with Do Bronx. I imagine pressure, hands, dip out, try to create an opportunity where Oliveira gets flustered. But the way he's able to tailor his game is one of the things that makes him a very impactful fighter in the UFC.
One of the things that I want to bring up right here is just taking a look at some of the numbers in between both of these fighters right here. The biggest thing is just people talk about the frame of Charles Oliveira right here. He's taller, 3-inch height advantage, 5-inch reach advantage right here. People are saying that as if Ilia Topuria didn't just fight Max Holloway, right? Who was taller? They did. Ironically, I actually had to go back to look this up. They had the same reach right here. I believe it was, that 69-inch reach for both fighters. So massive reach advantage for Oliveira, who does like to throw those straight shots down the pipe. Big hooks, but also loves to throw the straight shots. The thing that really interests me right here is when he fought Jai Herbert was 6'1". I was rewatching that fight here today, and he was getting tagged up, man. I mean, Herbert's a slick boxer, and he was putting some work on Ilia Topuria. Charles Oliveira is not the same level of boxer, but there is one thing in particular that I think Topuria does very, very well against a fighter like Charles Oliveira, really any of them, is false entries and bringing out reads. He makes reads in the first round, steps it up a little bit in the second round, but brings out these reads because he doesn't really use a jab. AJ, have you noticed there's kind of a lack of a jab in Topuria's game?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he has snappy combos. He likes to land the 1-2, but it really is, like you said, a lot of the backhand reading things, trying to counter.
So one of the things that Jai Herbert did a lot, you could even say for a Max Holloway, not really as much Max Holloway, but Jai Herbert did this a lot. He's seen it against some of the longer, bigger guys, is throwing those big flying knees that they like to throw, right? Topuria is so hunched down in that boxing stance. A lot of these guys are throwing up those knees, just trying to kind of use it as a, you're not going to shoot in and take down on me. Also, it's a little bit like uppercut, right? Just using that knee instead of the uppercut. Oliveira loves the knees, especially out of the clinch. But if you're throwing this at range, he feints you in, you throw the knee, and he comes across with the big right hand over the top. And that's the type of exchange that worries me a little bit in this matchup right here. As you can see, when it comes down to defense, 49% defense for Charles Oliveira. If you actually use the eye test and you don't just look at like numbers and paper and stuff like that, the reality is very clear, man. Charles Oliveira is a very hittable fighter. The thing is, he fights fire with fire. Who's going to be the guy on the front foot here? Because Oliveira says it's definitely going to be him. Ilia Topuria, if you watch his film, actually doesn't always have a problem going on the back foot for extended periods of time. What do you think?
I think at the end of the day, the majority one who's going to take advance on this is going to be Ilia Topuria. I think he's going to be on the front foot more often than not. One of the things I like about Charles Oliveira, he is able to have that chaotic kind of style of fight. Like, he's down to scrap. Very, 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 very willing to let his hands go because of how good his jiu-jitsu is. The problem is especially what we've seen with Topuria, when those exchanges happening, he's usually landing the harder of the shots, causing his opponents to turn, run a little bit, which we've seen Charles do just to try to gain some distance. And that's when the big shots land. That's when the ones that actually hurt you and put you out, those are when those land, because Ilia has a very nice way of keeping that pressure going forward. I think that's what's going to lead him to have it more often than not.
Yeah, man. It's going to be interesting because if you're looking at some actual numbers right here, one of the things that interests me more than anything else is the total on this one. Now, it depends on where you go because I've actually found different numbers in different places, but I'm going to go off of FanDuel. I took all of these numbers for today's program off of FanDuel, and what I'm seeing is 1.5 rounds for the total right here. Over -146, plus 114 for the under on this fight right here. So, of course, these guys are finishers, man. If you take a look at the actual like totals between them two, let me see. I had it written down right here. It's something crazy, man, when it comes down to the amount of finishes that these guys have. I think it's like 45 combined finishes in 61 fights. Like they finish a ton of fights right here. So if this fight ends early, do you anticipate it being a knockout, it being a submission? I can see Charles Oliveira tying up using that clinch, which he loves to do a lot, finding a back take and grabbing a submission, but I can also see Ilia Topuria with the walk-off shot. What rings more true in your simulations in your mind?
I'm going with the latter, Derek. I'm going with Ilia and the knockout shot. I think especially how we've seen things unfold in the recent history, I think he has a lot of that momentum carrying forward. Big shots coming in, especially when Charles is looking to close that distance. That's when Ilia is going to do the majority of his damage.
Yeah. Pocket exchanges are going to be really dangerous here. You look at the Justin Gaethje fight. You look at a ton of different fights, honestly, man. He throws reckless, and hooks are the thing that he is really averse to, hooks in the pocket. But let me give you a comeback right here. If he keeps the fight standing, I do see a path to victory for Charles Oliveira, the same one that Jai Herbert exploited, the same one that Max Holloway attempted to exploit, which is going to be the countering of the right hand of Ilia Topuria right here. When he loads up, because that's the one problem with Ilia Topuria. I'm not going to say the one problem, one of many problems because they're all flawed fighters, but he really likes to load up on those combos when he finds his read. And given he's shorter and doesn't have a jab, a lot of leaping Mike Tyson-esque kind of like getting in there, right? He throws that right hook, expect that left high kick over the top, the same way that Max Holloway threw it a million times, the same way that Jai Herbert connected with it. We just got to see. In a situation with Charles Oliveira, normally it's not the I'm gonna hurt you and then just try to swarm you with punches. It's more of I'm gonna hurt you, take your back, and choke you. I think that it's gonna be a very interesting main event right here. But what are some betting angles that you like right here? Last time that I clocked it, Ilia Topuria by KO was -150 right here. Where's the juice here, brother?
Where's the juice? I think the biggest juice, if you're a Topuria better, right? And I think this is one of the more unlikely ways this fight goes. I think a finish is happening right here, but if you're an Ilia Topuria, you take the over, right? You take the over. You take if he's at plus 650 by points. So that the numbers I'm looking at, find them on your own sports book, folks. But plus 650, I mean, there's a lot of that to happen. But a finish is so likely right here. You have a -175 TKO or -150, like you said, Derek, TKO prop for Ilia. There's a lot of not juice happening with the -500 favorite as well.
Yeah. The way that I see it right here, I'm going to go Ilia Topuria in this one. I think that the power is going to be a little too overwhelming. Technique will be a little bit too sharp. I like him by knockout, but I am going to be taking over 1.5 rounds right here. I think the knockout comes over that total. What's your play on it?
Exact same, Derek. I think this one ends in a finish. I'm going Ilia Topuria. Like the knockout, not taking it to those odds. So like you said, I like the over, especially at 1.5. The fight can end early, but I think with how good these fighters are, they're going to be making reads until the chaos really starts happening.
All right, that's fair. Quick legacy talk before we jump into the next championship bout right here. Ilia Topuria wins the championship. There's talks that if Islam Makhachev can handle business in the welterweight division, if he can dethrone Jack Della Maddalena, he potentially might come back down to 155. Let's not forget, this was the fight that we originally wanted to see. It was Makhachev, Topuria, but a couple of things need to be answered before then. Legacy-wise right here, is that the biggest fight that you could possibly make in the UFC now that John Jones is no longer in the UFC picture, now that he is retired?
Absolutely. I mean, it is hard to disagree the fact that the sport changed when Habib and the rest of the Dagestanis came over. Nonetheless, they changed the perspective on how things are, but they changed how fights are actually getting done in the UFC. Different styles happening. Now the predecessor, right, Islam, who arguably is more fan appealing, right? He's not as much of a good guy. Now you're going up against Ilia Topuria, who's an absolute goat killer. If he's able to get past Charles, biggest fight in the UFC, hands down.
All right, that's fair. On to the next, folks.